Hello, everyone. I'm back with yet another episode, podcast episode, or should I say, Nioh 2 podcast episode number 9. And this time I'm having another guest, which is called, what was your name again? Build for
Built
everything.
for anything,
Anything.
baby. You
Ah,
know, I should have worn my shirt that said "Built for Anything" on the front. I
yeah,
probably should
you
have did it.
should. You
You
should.
wouldn't have forgot. You wouldn't have
Yeah.
forgot it.
So this is the
All good.
person that I met actually during my live streams of Nioh 2. Actually, he randomly pop up, ask questions. He was actually quite curious, and I have to say, one of the rare people who would actually stay in the game and actually improved quite a lot. And actually, every time he get on my stream, he would say like, "Thank you a lot, thank you very much for actually everything and showcase," which I'm actually more than glad to see. And I wish like we had more people like this in our community. So yeah, how are you doing today? Actually, how have you
I'm
been?
doing great, man. I'm doing great, man. I can't complain. I'm honored to be here with you, man. Just chatting about gaming, man. I appreciate you inviting me on here, man.
Mhm.
Excited.
So, could you please tell us, tell me and viewers, how did you actually get into Neo? What did happen? What actually made you to download and buy that game?
Oh yeah. As we all know, the world literally stopped for everybody during that time when Neo was released. This is right in the middle of the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
and I was home. Prior to that, I hadn't had time to really game. Once I got into like my adult years, it was all just career focused, and then when the pandemic happened and we worked from home and the job that I was at, I got let go from there, and so I had a lot of time on my hands. And that was coincidentally right around the time when the PS5 had released. And so there were three games that I recall, no, two games that I picked up. It was Neo 2 and it was Demon Souls. And so I played Demon Souls first, played through that. I had already had Ghost of Tsushima because Ghost of Tsushima was on the PS4 Pro
Mm-hmm.
at the time, and I believe that they had like an upgrade to where they just upgraded everything to run on the PS5. And so I then played Ghost of Tsushima, and then it was after Ghost of Tsushima, I was like, you know what? Let me play Neo 2. And I had not played Neo 1, had no experience about it. I just saw the samurai on the cover. I thought he looked really dope. And so I said, you know what, I'm gonna dive into it. I watched no videos, I
Mm-hmm.
knew nothing. And I picked up the game, and right away I realized like, okay, this is a different game. All right. This game doesn't it didn't there wasn't a bunch of tutorials. It was like I felt like there was a curve there, in terms of the learning, and I knew like I was like probably way behind on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started playing, and I remember I got stuck on, I feel like, the boss that a lot of people get stuck on, which is the snake boss. I
Yeah,
forgot her name.
Yatunokami. Yatunokami.
Yes,
Uh,
yes. Got stuck on her, and I was like, damn. And so I remember just playing it over that night, and I couldn't beat her. And so I remember just laying on my couch, and Twitch was something that I came from YouTube. I did
mm-hmm.
content on YouTube. I'm just so familiar with looking up a lot of things on YouTube, and for some reason I just was like, oh, let me go on Twitch, and I saw everybody was gaming on Twitch, and I just started looking up Neo 2, and that's how I came across you. And I just remember just look again. It was so weird for me because I'm so used to, again, coming from YouTube. People don't really interact as much, especially live, right? You're so
Mm-hmm.
used to people. You create the content, you put it out, and the only way you can really communicate with someone is if you drop a comment, and then maybe they'll read it and they'll reply back. And so this is
Mm-hmm.
the first time, like, I'm like, okay, this is live. We're live. And so you were playing the game, and I remember I just came in the chat, and I can't remember what question I asked, but I think I asked like how to use a certain weapon, or just it probably was key flux. It was something I asked,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just surprised that you actually stopped what you were doing to actually show me how to do it, and that just kind of piqued my interest further to just get better at the game. And I remember I made the promise. I was like, man, and this is again way early. I was like, I had no idea what I was gonna get into. I had no idea how deep the game was, with DLCs, with the depths, all of that. No concept of that, and I was just like, man, I'm gonna beat this game. I'm gonna master this game. and I took the challenge, and I remember telling you I'm gonna platinum the game, and I'm gonna come back and tell you about it. And
Yeah, I remember.
I remember
I remember.
you remember I was like, man, I'm gonna platinum the game. I'm telling you, I'm gonna come back. And man, I just fell in love with the game, man. It just it had so much depth to it that I just was not used to. And for me, I'm the type of person I like to, the only word I can think of is obsess.
Hmm.
These type of games where there's just so many nuances to it, so many weapons, so many ways to play it, so many builds, the variety of enemies, just everything about it just really piqued my interest. And just as I improved and got better and better at the game, watching people like you, it was just amazing to me to see what you could do with the game. um it was just awesome, man, and I just fell in love with it.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm actually quite glad to hear that. I mean, that was the same way for me back then in the days when I started. So I also was noob, of course. I'm playing this game. What is this game? Like another, like people would say Souls like. I mean, Dark
Hmm.
Souls.
Hmm.
But actually, when
Hmm.
I started playing that game, ever since from the beginning, I have seen actually, no, this is way different. But I did not know anything at all until I came across a few other people. I think that, yeah, the first person for me was BSG, Brilliant Sons Gaming. You know him, and actually,
Yes.
he actually
Yeah.
showed me. I was like, "What? You can play this game this way? Yes, you can. Yes, you can." Then actually, that's what I said myself exactly the same thing like you did. Okay, I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna get great at this game. Let's keep on,
Mhm.
and that's how the thing started. So yeah, actually, I'm glad that happened, and I'm actually
That's it.
glad that I can have a good influence on people because, as I said, like this game itself has a terrible guides inside the game. Like the developers
Right.
haven't told you anything, legit nothing at all. Like it's just, and there is not much. I mean, even big channels are not making good content in the terms of, like, I would say, like they just make it. Game is released, they make a few things and that's it. They just move away to another game, and
Mhm.
nobody invests time to explain something, develop something. Like there are many people actually these days. Of course, they are part of our community. I mean, Last to Load, Purple Llama, Kagira Simaru,
Mhm. Mhm.
Brilliant Suns
Mhm.
Gaming himself, and many others. Like I know they all made some cool stuff now that you have in the
Mhm.
game. But we usually tend to explain people, like whenever somebody needs help. Yeah, I'm always glad, and I will take my time to help them and show them how they should play this game so they actually don't play it as a Dark Souls or just try to roll in a high stance, because believe me, it doesn't work. You're going to quit
Mhm.
game
Mhm. Mhm.
because it's not made to be played that way, and
Exactly.
it's actually something different. But yeah, yeah, and then to get back on Yatsuno Kami and a second snake boss, that boss was actually I would say deciding factor for everyone should they continue or not,
Mhm.
because it was actually annoying.
Mhm.
But the similar thing was in Nioh
Mhm.
1. In Nioh 1 you had Hino Enma, that vampire lady, and she was also
Mhm.
tough.
Mhm.
And then if you pass her, oh, you will be the whole game. Like you don't need to worry at
Oh
all.
yeah.
But but
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
those
Oh
are
yeah.
the things. So
I spent all night on that boss, man. I
yeah.
was so excited when I finally got through, and I think I got through with like 1 HP left. Like it was like down to the wire type of thing. But I loved every moment of it, man. And it's funny you said that just to backtrack, man, because I definitely feel like I want to give you your flowers here because you brought up some of those names, and I'm familiar with all of them. And I will say, like, I feel like someone like yourself, and again, I know you have a platform, you have a lot of people that come in and watch you all the time when you're streaming the game. I just feel personally like you definitely deserve a lot more credit when it comes to what this type of game and the community that has been built around it. Because man, I love your patience when it comes to showing people. I love how passionate you are about the game, and I also love like just your approach to the game. Because I would say the one thing that makes you different from all the names that you mentioned is I noticed that the style at which you decide to play it, for example, where it's a no elixir run, or whether it's the +9 stone, or it's like you find a way, or if it's the level 1 weapons, I feel like you find a way to make a game that is already hard even harder. And I noticed that you carry that into the other games. So it wasn't like it was just a Neo thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. I
like
started
when I
doing
see
that.
you play Black Myth Wukong, I'm like, I already know. when I click on your chat, I already know, like, I know how you're gonna try to approach the game. And I find
Yeah.
that to be like it's refreshing because nowadays where people cry about difficulty in the game, again, to see somebody actually enjoying the difficulty and making it, making it harder on themselves, but still having fun, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't think I do think a lot of games, and this is just games in general, have artificial difficulty, which is really, it's not really good. And so it does put it on us now. It feels like to make the games harder for ourselves, just so we can enjoy them a bit more. And I just love the way you approach gaming in general from that standpoint. And so I think with this type of genre, it fits really well. So I just want to give you your flowers, man, because I really think that you've made a tremendous impact, and I feel like a lot of people have taken your style when it comes to the
Yeah.
approach to this game
Thank you very
and
much.
ran with it,
Yeah.
man.
I'm
It
actually
was great.
I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm really that's all my point of just me doing this is because, as I said, like I love this type of games. As you said, they fit me. I actually noticed that back then in the days when I was younger, I was playing shooter games. Then I switched. I was changing the, so to say, categories. But I think I can say for now that actually RPGs, these type of games just fit me well, and I enjoy actually being engaged in combat and having freedom in a combat. And I also have no problem, and enjoy explaining people, like when it get to sharing the knowledge. I never, even in I would say real life, when because I'm a mechanical engineer, as a that's my, so, I mean, that's what I am actually, but I am also gamer. But I tend not to, why would I hide something from who? Like, if I know
I agree.
something, I would share to somebody so they can learn something. Because what is the point of keeping that knowledge? I mean, I think I heard once and I read somewhere, and they said, what is the most precious? Was it the most precious or actually
Most
ah
valuable.
most valuable, yeah, valuable place on the earth? And then i
Ooh,
was thinking i
the
was thinking
no,
yeah, I was
I know
thinking, I was
exactly
like,
what
what
that
the fuck? And then they said graveyard, and I was like, what the hell, what
graveyard.
that? And yeah, exactly. And then they said, you won't believe how many ideas have
Mm-hmm.
actually buried here that people haven't actually shared or showed to somebody else or passed on somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually quite accurate. Because why would you
Mm-hmm.
carry something with you? Like one day, like everybody else, we will be gone from this planet. But if we can show and share to the people something, I'm actually more than glad actually to show them. And especially when some game like this one, I'm saying that million times, it deserves more attention than it has. I can
I
say, I don't
agree.
know what is the problem. Maybe it's a marketing problem, or maybe are people just used to play some games that actually two
Yeah.
buttons or one button parry. I'm not sure, but actually this game, and I believe as we are stepping in the next age, and then like in 2024 we should not actually play any more games that are like from 2005, and we need
Mm-hmm.
to have complexity, which is changing over the years, which is actually, yes, it does change, and people actually now appreciate Neo more than they do back then in the days. Because, like, look, you got in a game,
Mm-hmm.
you have a three stances, you have a key pulse, key flux to a, like, ooh, my head is gonna blow up because like I need
Mm-hmm.
to catch up on everything. But I'm saying, like, that's a nice idea that actually we are improving. Okay, we had back in the days in 2010 Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, 4. When I say 4, I mean Elden Ring. I mean, they kept the same principle, I would say. But
Same formula.
yeah, the same format that gotta change over the year, that gotta evolve.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad actually what they brought up when they brought up Neo is actually something new, refreshing, and
Mm-hmm.
something that actually, they should actually build upon. And I would like, of course, to see Neo 3 at some point. But
Me
yeah,
too.
yeah,
It's funny that you bring up those because I always hear in the community like people want to, like, why do you want another Neo? Like, we got two games and just move on and let them do something else. And it's funny because, you know, you just mentioned some of the games, the Elden Rings, the Dark Souls, the Demon Souls, bro, when you have a formula and you have a group of people that is a devout following of those type of games and
yeah,
you're selling them, I
yeah,
feel like my thing is this: I have no problem with Team Ninja and companies wanted to try different things, I do that. My
Yeah,
thing
that's
is
fine.
this: we only get 2 games. That's what I don't understand, because I'm looking at it and I'm saying, look at all these other companies, look at all the success that they've had. They kept it going. They're like, hey, we're gonna give them another one. We're gonna give them Dark Souls 1, 2, 3. We're gonna give them Elden Ring. We're gonna give them, like you said, the skeleton is still there. You can build on it. But when
Yeah.
I feel like when you have a formula, it's like, why we only get two? I feel like this type of genre, this type of game, the type of following that it has, it should have more. It should have 3, 4 before we even think about, like, hey, let's do open world or let's do something. Like before we even think about going a totally different route. I just feel like there's still a lot left on the table, and there's a lot of people that's been introduced that I feel like this is a perfect time to then move forward and say, hey, here's the third iteration, because I feel like it would be even bigger than the previous, and just like the second was bigger than the first. I just feel like there's still a lot to be done with it.
Yeah, I do agree, definitely. I mean, when we just as a community and like with all the people that I have spoke in this podcast, I have actually heard so many cool ideas what they could bring possibly to new game, and there is a lot of things. And I was saying also that in the Axel podcast, uh, I would actually like them to see this podcast, so to reach them with this podcast. So guys, you are not done yet, and you should continue
You're not.
really because you. I mean,
How many
they
Final
start.
Fantasies do we have?
Yeah, I mean, how
How
many
many God
Assassin's
how many
Creed
God awards do we have?
and Assassin's Creed,
Like,
and like, come
how
on.
many Assassin's Creeds? Like, we got 2 games and people acting like like we get a game every year. It's like, come on, man. Like, there's still,
Yeah,
so I have no shame in saying, like, where's the Neo 3? Like,
yeah,
why
exactly. I
does
mean,
it have to stop?
Assassin's Creed
I
is
still don't
selling
understand.
like they making every year making new Assassin's
Resident
Creed.
Evil.
Yeah,
Like, what are we talking about? And these are,
you're
when
right.
you look at them, they're the same games, but why are they still
Exactly.
selling? Because they have a following. There's people that want to play it. So there's people that want to play Neo. Why we only get 2 games and people, oh, let's go, let them do Ronin and let them do these other. Listen, I'm not against that, but I'm just saying you're leaving a lot on the table, and there's still people
Hmm.
playing this game. Like, give us, it deserves it, like, come on, it deserves a trilogy. At the very least, it deserves a trilogy.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Two, at the very least, if you want to
Yeah,
call, like, how you justify just 2 games, I don't understand that. So
that's true.
no, I don't think that they're done. Yes, they can do a lot more with it. um and I think it would sell really well, man.
Yeah, I actually am quite sure that Neo 3 would sell at least the amount that Neo 1 and 2 sold together. At least, and that was 7 million copies. I'm actually pretty sure that that would
Agree.
happen. And
Hmm.
they needed just to work on it.
Totally.
And as I said, like they've been silent, but I truly hope so that next year they're going to announce something. And I'm having some sort of feeling that next year we are going to get some announcements because okay, they tried Rise of the Ronin. I understand Yasuda. He said I wanted to build open world game. He did a
Hmm.
good job. I'm not saying he did not. Actually, they invested like over 7 years in a Ronin, but suddenly they didn't even want to patch and tweak combat. They just stopped, and
They
that's
just
the thing that I don't understand. I believe actually they just realized, okay, this ain't gonna sell the way we thought it's going to sell because they were expecting I think 5 million copies sold, and I believe actually maybe I'm not sure actually how much copies was sold. Probably two or so. I'm not even sure at this point
Mhm.
anymore.
From what I heard, and I think this is where the numbers do lie, right? You always hear the saying numbers don't lie, but
Yeah,
numbers can lie. Like,
yeah, of course.
I have heard that, it did, from what they compared it to, it has sold more than what they've, so if I tell you, hey, I'm thinking about, the most I'm looking for is 50 copies and I sell 100, to me, it's a success. But if we look at 100 compared to, what it could have been, we'd be like, that's a failure. So whatever number they had, they did exceed that according to them, although they have not really disclosed the numbers. These are just like reportedly, allegedly. But my thing is this: I do think that if they pay attention to the audience and they pay attention to the consumer and the play base, I think they would have to look at this and say that this is not getting nowhere near the level of love and attention that, again, a Neo 2 or a Neo 1 has gotten. I don't care what the numbers say. They may have sold more. because
Mm-hmm.
again, it's a PS5 exclusive. So if we look at it from just, the price was up there. It's a AAA game price. Like they may have, especially at a time where again, this is not a pandemic. People are buying more games. People are streaming more. They may have, but look how many people played it one time and didn't go back. That's
Yeah.
why I say like they gotta look at that. And it's funny. I was talking to somebody, like I know somebody, like real people in real life that play the games, that play these
Mm-hmm.
games. And I remember having a conversation, and I said to him, I said, here's my thing with Rise of Ronin. And I said to him, I said, I noticed something. If I pulled up 5 people streaming Nioh 2, and I told him right now, if I pulled up 5 people, I promise you, every single one of them will be playing a different weapon. When I pull up Rise of the Ronin, everybody's playing dual swords or a sword. And I asked them, I said, is there other weapons in the game? I asked them,
Yeah.
it's a simple question. I never
Yeah.
played the game. I said,
Yes,
is
there
there
is a
other
bunch of weapons
weapons
in
in
the
the
game.
game? So he's telling me, yeah, there's a bunch of. I said, so why nobody plays it? I said, and I seriously pulled it up and did an experiment. And I'm telling you, one person was playing hammer with, one person was playing axe with Neo, Kasuragama, sword, tonfas. I said, bro, I could rattle off weapons that people like are playing, legitimately playing and having fun with. I'm like, why is it everybody just, he told me, he's like, oh, because sword is strong. I said, what does that say about the game then? If you have one weapon or two weapons that are strong, everybody plays out of a set of, I don't know, maybe 8, 9, 10. I don't know how many weapons is in the game. That tells you that clearly that you don't have the same level of creativity that you can do. You don't have the same level of options. So
True.
right then and there, from a Team Ninja game, it just surprises me.
True, that's true. I mean, I played Rise of the Ronin. I was enjoying. I'm not gonna lie. I was really enjoying that first playthrough. It was actually quite fun. There is a lot of things, a lot of changes. The only thing that bothers me, I would say, is why they haven't built Rise of the Ronin upon the Neo combat base. Because stances and key pulse and flux, they try to make something new and they screw up. Because that's normal. Whenever you try to make a new type of stamina system, you're going to screw up because you need to experiment and see whether does this works or not. Of
Mhm.
course, unfortunately, they didn't make it. I mean, I found so many frustrating things in Rise of the Ronin, which also drive me away from the game. That one of them was, for example, you fight a boss, and only way to drain boss stamina is actually doing the parry, or when they burst, you
Mhm.
counter that burst.
Mhm.
Otherwise, they
Mhm.
don't consume ki
You
while
can't take.
moving. They attacking, they don't consume ki, and the guy has like, let's say, one little SP, or I mean the mana or key, and he can actually combo you to that. And I was like, okay, sure, something doesn't work here. This is not good. Go in Neo. I was just saying, like, go in Neo and actually take a look what you made in Neo. That in Neo works perfectly fine. Boss dodge, he consume key. Boss attack, he consume key. That's fine. Sometimes boss know to cheat when he has the low key to actually still attack you. That's fine. I don't mind it. I mean, of course, it is as it is, but it's actually fair. And they
Mhm.
they they I believe also you haven't still played it, but you have a stances in Rise of the Ronin. You have Neo stance,
Mhm.
for example, and then
Mhm.
inside you have a stances inside the stance. Basically, they,
Mhm.
they they did a good
Okay.
job. Like, I don't want to spoil it for you, but you will see they did a really good job in Rise of the Ronin in terms of the different type of art and schools for each weapon, and that's actually some of the material they could use for Neo 3. The only thing that I did not like was actually the you've been changing your stances on analog stick, and that's a very
Mm.
bad that's very bad, because analog stick, it's
Mhm.
not a place that you want to change your stance, because that shit can drift, and when that drift,
Mhm.
you can either buy a new controller, or you can just get pissed every time you play, because the game is going to automatically switch your stances. Because I mean, that's not their problem, it's a Sony
Mm.
problem, and we all aware since ever. I don't know what PlayStation, that the fucking drifting is a huge issue, especially on PlayStation 5 controllers. I mean, we know that
Mhm.
very well. So
Mhm.
they have a lot of materials, as you said. They have a really a
Mhm.
lot of materials, and I strongly believe that actually they realize after all these games, Wulong, Stranger of Paradise, Rise of the Ronin, that actually they should go back on Origins, or should I say Neo. Perhaps even Ninja Gaiden
It's
would
just,
probably sell good, but I just don't
it's
know. Like,
it's even the environment, man. Like it's funny because the combat is one thing, right? And
mm-hmm,
to be completely fair and honest, like I've heard good, good things about the combat, especially when people first try Rise of the Ronin. So I'm not trying to dump on the combat. I know it's good. I know that has some depth to it. If anything, I know some
Yeah,
people undersold it. So I totally believe you that there's some depth to it. And like I told you, I do plan on playing it. I will play that game. Um, but my thing is that, when I think about like Neo 2, right? And I think about the environment. When I would go into a certain level, the way to design, there were certain enemies that would pop out of certain places that was meant to almost jump scare you. And I feel like that the whole environment is missing. When you make it so open world and you're just running around, and it's like you almost feel like you're waiting to get to the next fight. Where I felt like in Neo 2, as I was going through those levels, there was always some sort of a threat. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
there was
yeah,
you knew when you walked across and you saw that little pool, and you knew once you get there that one of these enemies are gonna pop up, like that pool that you gotta keep pulse through. Like you knew you was about to walk into something,
yeah. You get in
and
there, and
that's the part that I feel is missing in a Rise of Rona or whatever, and where it's like, where's that constant, dude? I could not have started a mission and put my controller down and really walk away, because I felt like you could hear the noises, you could hear, like, you knew something might come and get you. You know what I mean? Like, you better kill
yeah,
everything in that
yeah,
area before you put that control down, if you want to go to the bathroom or you want to step away, look at your phone, because like you knew a battle was around the corner. And that's the part that I miss, man. To be honest with you, it's not even just the combat; it's just like that whole environment, man, of just
yeah.
like there's a threat.
I mean,
I miss that.
Neo 2 has its own, so to say, graphic art, and nobody did complain that much about the graphics. They complained in Rise of the Ronin because they didn't have any sort of art. It was
Oh yeah.
actually, they tried to make a new graphics, but it wasn't that good. I mean, I personally do not care about graphics, but unfortunately, many people value graphics over anything else. And to get to the point that you mentioned, like in Neo, let's say you are going through mission, then you run upon one open field, and then you always know whenever you see some big area, and there is nobody there,
Mm-hmm.
you know that as soon as you step there, something gonna pop
Gonna
up,
happen.
either
Yep.
fucking skeleton going to shoot you
Yep.
from the cliff, or perhaps you will have actually enemy pop up outside the ground or something like that, and then actually you have a skeleton as addition to keep shooting and piece you off till you fight that
Mm-hmm.
enemy. So yeah, that's true, you did not have that in the Rise of Ronin. Actually, maybe I could say
And you knew it
maybe.
was about to happen when you start to
Yeah,
see players buff up. That's when you know, when you get to that corner and
yeah,
everybody start buffing up and putting on all they
yeah.
stuff, man. And that's what I'm saying. Like, though, that the environment to me was what I loved, and I used to play with, like, at the time, because I had, remember, it came out on PS5, or it came out on PS5 before it
Mm-hmm.
came out on PC. So
Mm-hmm.
when I was playing it on PS5, I was still like on the couch,
Mm-hmm.
living room setup.
Uh-huh,
Like right
uh-huh,
now, I have
uh-huh, uh-huh,
the
uh-huh.
gaming setup, so I had the headphones on and everything. So I was like really immersed in the sounds. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, man, like it just, I just miss that environment, man. A lot of people don't talk about that. They just harp on the combat, and I'm like, dude, the environment, man. I miss that, because it's like you go through a mission and you just, especially if you play with other people, or you just when you start doing scrolls, or you start, like, you just knew the level of difficulty was gonna be there and you was gonna have a challenge.
That's true.
It's
That's
awesome.
true.
It's awesome, man. And
And
I really
also,
hope that they don't lose sight of that.
I truly hope so as well, because as I said, like Neo itself, it has a huge, huge deepness. Like really, you can actually huge learning curve. I don't know if you've been following, but recently somebody, after what 4 years of release, somebody
Hmm.
discovered another tech with a split staff where you could cancel Dragon Dance
Mm.
into something else. Like that's a thing that actually is intriguing, like when you just think this game is present there that long, and then you again discover something new after
Little
fucking how
minor
many
touch.
hours, like
I
yeah. And
love it.
I love
I
that,
love
that's a thing I love that, especially let's say for example, by the way, evasion cancels, they come in from Neo
it. Hmm.
1, but nobody discovered that
Hmm.
in Neo 1. They discover at the end of the Neo 1, and then we actually start utilizing that in Neo 2.
Neo
And
2, I
then
remember that.
that's a crazy thing, like it's just somebody came across that, oh, let me test that out. I mean, there are people who got a very very good eye for that. Like I was mentioning last to load, the second force,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that guy
Mm-hmm.
has actually
Mm-hmm.
really good eye to spot these sort of attacks. Axel Edge himself, you probably know him, Axel Edge Gladiator.
Mm-hmm.
That guy as
Mm-hmm.
well, he's an amazing player, and he actually has also really good eye to notice tech. BSG himself, like I can say that he also noticed that. Like many other people there on Discord was doing the same thing. Kage as
Mm-hmm.
well. Like I don't know. I mean, after all these, like they just spot something. Oh, let's test this out. Oh, this is a new tech. You can do this. You can do this, and
Mm-hmm.
it's actually that's a thing. That's a thing. Like, and I'm actually glad that there is a community there, and that actually we are all there sharing our thoughts. And actually, it's quite chill place. For example, I really don't like, I mean, that's my personal opinion, and then I don't like actually Discord servers where people are being toxic. Like
Right.
whoever would get on a Neo community server and being toxic, believe me, if I see that, that would be permaban. Like sometimes I'm saying like my mods, like yeah, thank you my mods, like for being there, maintaining that server and all that, but they are actually sometimes quite nice to these guys. Like, believe when I see somebody who's actually being arrogant or actually,
I'm
toxic, dude,
curious.
just
What
go. Huh? Go ahead.
like what type of I'm curious, like what are these people that are coming in because are they coming in and just acting like they know everything about the game?
No,
Are they
no, no.
criticizing what weapons
Nah,
people are using? What
the people. There was a bunch of so to say cases, but people would get there and they are rude. They are rude to the other people.
okay.
They insulting other people. They don't respect rules and mods. Like, there are the people. There, I mean, these are actually funny type of people. You have also these funny type of people who join first day, and the first thing they do, they just actually promote themselves. And I mean,
Okay.
these are funny. I mean, these are not threatening.
I
These are
got
just
you.
funny type of people. I
Hmm.
mean, nobody
Hmm.
actually said that you shouldn't do that, but you just join server like in
Yeah,
one
it's
minute, and
like
you're just like, dude, come on, bro. I mean, but
hmm
okay, these are not
hmm
a threat, but there are some actually quite, I would say, toxic people that I
hmm
run upon, and I actually straight ban them permanently. You're not gonna be here in my server as long as I'm here, because I don't want these sort of people here in my community. I don't like toxic people, and I'm trying to build really nice community, and actually have the people there who are actually, we have a good vibes. We get there to chill, to talk, to play, to help each other, not actually saying you don't know anything, I'm better than you are, and I'm not gonna tell you anything. And then that's like not the way that I would like this community to go. So I'm actually trying to to make it and keep it the way as it is, even though if it's not big, or maybe one day it becomes big, I don't care. But as I said, like for me, I'm doing this because this is my like, I'm passionate for this. I really like gaming, and I really enjoy doing this, so pretty much.
nice. Nice. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I feel like every game suffers from elitism.
Yeah,
Especially the longer the game goes, it's like there's gonna be people who a lot of people experience that, man. It's in Path of Exile. It's in
yeah, it's
to a
everywhere,
smaller
everywhere.
degree in Diablo.
Mm.
Like you're gonna always have those people that try to ruin it and try to
Yeah,
be elitist about it.
but we
I
try to
thought I
minimize
thought
that.
you were I thought it was gonna be more like because I noticed that there's also conflict between, like how I said to you earlier, like, hey, I want a Neo 3. Like I find like people as soon as a new game comes out,
Hmm.
um, why are you comparing it? Why are you comparing it? Why are you comparing it? And first of all, I think it's a compliment, right? First and foremost, I think it's a compliment when a company has gotten to a point where people are starting to compare their current stuff with their previous stuff. That's a compliment because
Yeah,
when you think about an Elden Ring, what does Elden Ring usually get or FromSoft games get compared to themselves? People are always like, "Oh, is this Bloodborne? Is this Sekiro? Is this like they get
yeah,
compared to
exactly.
themselves?" That is a compliment. So it's a testament to again how good we know they can be, and we I want to be able to see them push forward on that. But even now, it's like when games come out, it's like when they release games, it's why you bringing it up? Why you bringing it up? It's first of all, especially with Wulong, because with Wulong, I mean, to the naked eye, you would think it was Neo because it's like the
Yeah,
way the movement was, the way like the way they went about it, obviously they went in a different direction with the combat. It was more parry system.
Yeah.
There were some differences there for
They
sure,
try
but
to
like
simplify
even
it.
from the
Yeah.
art design, and even then I felt like people were like, "Ooh, if you can do this, why can't we get that?" So it's like
Yeah.
I feel that people are gonna always, compare it, but I don't think it's. But so now you see people that get more defensive about, oh, they want to defend the Neo or they want to defend the Rise of Run. Like you start to see a lot of that happening, where it's just like, inside fighting, where it's just like, hey, move on and this and that. And like I said, if they were to announce it, if they were to work on it, it would unite everybody. Because I promise you, everybody would want to play it. And it would be amazing. So I was just curious if what you were seeing was more or less people like infighting about, wanting to move on from the Neo series
I
as
haven't
opposed
actually
to
run upon these people. Like every single group that I have seen or people, they've been all saying or actually asking for Neo 3. Like exactly the same thing as you said. Like why there is no more than just two games. I mean, they didn't say we finished with this series. They said we put Neo series on rest, which means they've been working on
Mhm.
something else. That was actually in a
Right.
time when the Rise of the Ronin was in development, which I know and we all know that actually it will just get there. I mean, it was easy for them to make Nioh 2. For people who actually might never got into it or never understood, Nioh 1 uh, was developed for about 7 or 8 years before it was
Mhm.
released, and then Nioh 2 was actually easily to be developed because they thought actually to implement all these things originally in Nioh 1, but they said, oh, we cannot fit all this, and then this need to be left for a second game, and then they made a Nioh 2 like 3 years after that. Because they already have material which they didn't want to use in the first game, they said let's use it in another game. They revamped some stuff, changed some stuff, adjusted, but that was the thing. And now, okay, they released Wulong, they released Stranger of Paradise in a collab with Square Enix, Rise of the Ronin, and I believe now it's actually quite suitable time for them to move back on Neo series actually because they have learned a lot, they have seen a lot what people do want, and I think
Exactly.
actually it's a time to get back onto it,
Got a
and
lot of
then
data.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So I
And
believe
it's funny.
actually, yeah.
I feel like it would be a challenge that they should welcome that challenge, because if I'm a developer, if I'm them and I'm looking and I'm saying and I'm looking at Neo 2 and I
Mm-hmm.
said to myself, how do I have a job of improving this? When you have this as your baseline and you like, I'm gonna make this better. Because I remember reading a quote somewhere, where, for example, Miyazaki with FromSoft was saying like he almost has an attitude as if like, and if you ever hear him really talk about his games, he almost has an attitude of like, we could do better than this. You know what I mean? Like we haven't even scratched the surface. And I
Yeah,
love when I hear that from developers, because even if we really love something, I want the developer to feel like there's room to grow. Like, no, we're
of
gonna make this
course,
even better.
of
And that
course.
to me is exciting. So I'm like, I want you to look at this and say to yourself, okay, you guys are going around and saying this is some of the best combat you have. I'm gonna make this better. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna make the next one be even better than this. And I think that should be a challenge that they should be welcoming of, like,
Yeah,
yeah, we're gonna take this and we're gonna make this even better. And I just I don't see anything wrong with that. You know what I
th-
mean? With wanting to take something
absolutely,
really good and make it improve it.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I actually take that same formula for myself. Let's say, I mean, recently I got back into DMC5 because I never actually had I mean, never. It's not that I never had a chance. I just probably more of time due to everything to play it, and I now got back into it, and I'm now learning and I'm actually improving myself. But I'm always aware, even in Neo these days, that I actually there is still space for improvement. There is always space for improvement, no matter what you do in life. You will never reach like. There are some people who actually think, "Oh, I reached this level and I'm the best, I'm the greatest," and then they run upon somebody else and they slam with their heads on the wall and they, oh fuck, actually I am not, and they
Hmm.
should be aware that there is always space for improvement, and that actually applies to everyone, even to developers, and they are aware of that, and they should know that because that's actually the uh, if I can say that, healthy logic how people should think, because there is always, you can always improve. You never know actually how good people are in a certain areas in the world, because you have never actually explored that world. And even though if you start exploring, you will never actually get to the point where you see, oh, I have explored everything 100% and I know that I'm the best, because you never know. You never know. While you've been exploring, there was somebody else actually who pop up during that time and overpass all of you. I mean, it's just like, there is always the moral of the story. It's there is always space for improvement in every possible branch or way, or whatever we do in our lives. That's for sure. Oh, I gotta
You know
say,
what I
actually,
wanted to ask you?
yeah, go ahead.
I just want to make
Yeah,
sure I ask you this one thing because I feel like I can't be on a podcast with you and not ask you this one thing.
yeah,
I, what is your favorite weapon? If you could only use one weapon, all right,
yeah,
in the game, right?
yeah.
Just one. You cannot use it. No switching.
Okay,
This is your only game.
yeah,
This is the only weapon that you would play with through the entire game from
yeah.
beginning to end. And secondly, who is your favorite boss to fight?
Okay, weapon I can tell you that easily, and that's Tonfa ever
Okay.
since Neo 1. Like, it's
Stonefist.
my
Okay.
favorite. Yeah, Tonfas. That's why I actually been playing and enjoying to play with that weapon a lot. I fell in love when I saw the grapple first time in Neo 1. Actually, that's when I fall in love with Tonfa. And when it get to the boss, I would say Neo 1 Sanada, definitely my favorite boss. I love that boss. It's actually one of the greatest bosses. In Neo 2, human bosses are not that much entertaining as in Neo 1, but if I can choose between Yokai boss and human boss, I would rather choose Yokai and say Shuren Doji, because he's one of the wonderful bosses. Like,
Mm,
he's a really badass boss. I like the style, the way he fights, and it's like a drunken master like type of style.
mhm,
I love it ever
mhm,
since I saw it first time. So I would say like
mhm,
these two definitely, these two
mhm.
definitely.
Nah, awesome, man. Awesome. For me, I would say it's sword because of the versatility, which is probably like everybody probably knows
Yes,
katana.
yes, it has a lot of
Um,
skills, definitely.
a lot of versatility. And then boss, believe it or not, for me, man, I would actually say Nightbringer.
Oh,
And I say that because
interesting.
he was like the first one where he was you couldn't confuse him.
Yeah.
He's like the first where you could,
You
and confusion is very powerful in the game. Now you could slow him down,
there
but
is
like it
a
falls off really
yeah,
quick.
but listen to this. There is a way to confuse him. I mean,
Mm.
it works through you basically. You let him
Mhm.
confuse you, and then you use
Oh yeah,
talisman, that
the
and then just send it
talisman.
back to him. Okay, bro, take it.
Oh
Because
man.
I did that a lot because it was funny thing. And there's
Yeah,
another
because other
boss.
than that,
Yeah,
yeah,
you
because other
cannot confuse
if
it.
not doing that, it's like he's really hard.
Yeah,
Because up until that point, you're just
yeah.
confusing
He
everybody
has
with
a lot
your
of HP. He has a lot of
yeah,
HP for
yeah,
no
and a
reason.
lot of HP.
Yeah,
Yeah, and a lot of HP.
I don't understand why, but just like he has enormous HP pool. I believe somebody, I'm not entirely sure, but somebody said over half million HP, almost
Yeah, I
600.
believe it. I
Like,
believe it.
bro, like it's a really
I
huge
believe
pool.
it. I believe it.
So yeah,
But
I would
he
say,
goes on.
oh, we are on a 43 minutes. I mean, actually
Yeah,
went
man.
a bit over time, but it's all good because I was actually quite enjoyable to speak with you. And as I said,
Okay.
like, I would like to make another podcast with you when you finish Rise of the Ronin, because I would like to hear you and your
Okay.
thoughts about Rise of the
Okay.
Ronin once you beat it.
Okay. 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 I'll take
So
that. You know what?
yeah,
It's set. It's set. We gonna do it.
okay,
I'm gonna
okay,
do it. I'm gonna do it.
okay,
I'll probably be
okay.
streaming it too and whatnot. So
Sure, I'll be there
you'll
watching. I'll be there watching for
you'll
sure.
be watching for sure,
Yeah,
man. Man, it was a pleasure again, man.
yeah.
Thank you for having me on here, man. And I'm excited to see what you do with it, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much as well for joining me and taking your time. And yeah, I guess we'll see once again once you finish the running. Till then, yeah.
I will, man. I will. I will. We'll talk again for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Z Log.
Okay, guys, this was yet another episode. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.